Hey everyone, we're back at her again, continuing with the next part of this chicken soup project. Having a lot of trouble figuring out where to go from that after making that back piece. There's just so little support in the back end of this thing. The fenders don't fit right. The quarters on the back here are all bent and twisted. So I decided just to get in here and I hacked out the inner fender so that I could get started on trying to get something to fit the fenders. So what I decided to do is just take you off the tripod here. I got everything cut off. All I did was cut on the inside here. I've got a lot of rust back in this area here. So I'm going to have to possibly include this lip in it, come around a little bit just to get it to go up into good material. But on the front here, what I did was I took a 2-inch strip, which gives me enough in to cut my, or to put my weld in nuts so that I can bolt the fender on. What I'm hoping, this is all good material. It's about 34 inches up to here. I'm going to cut and butt this piece in. I had to stretch it on the outside, shrink it on the inside, and then I had to introduce a bit of a curve for this to follow around for the inner fender here. So I'm going to do, like I say, a cut and butt, weld this in. I'm going to take my time so I don't introduce any more damage to this. The body shop's already got lots to do anyhow, so... And then I can bolt the fender in, and then I can figure out the back end here, where it has to go, what it has to do. And I can make the piece that goes in at the back end, finish bolting the fender in. Once I have that done, I think, then I can make this rear piece, and then I can make an inner fender that will go, I can plug weld from here down to my rail that goes around the side here. I think that's going to work. I don't have any other better plans, so I'm just going to have to go with it, I guess. So anyhow, I'm going to start cutting and welding on this flange I've got, and then I can get some holes put in for the fender bolts. Well, that's turning out better than expected. So I've got this fender fit really nice at the front here, about 3/4 of the way. My flange that I was working on, I have it in and it's tack welded. I just marked all the bolt holes for the fenders here. I'll just show you from the back here. We actually got a really nice fit. Other than these two areas here, you can see how it's been sucked in from the weld here, here, and actually here. So those areas are fairly rusty. I'm going to have to do a repair on those the same way, put a flange in, and go from there. And I'm back to, I think, about here with my flange. So next thing I'm going to do, I believe, to tie everything in, I'm going to start on the inner fender, and I'm going to build a piece that comes across, ties into the floor, and I'll leave an area right here where I can plug weld the top half of it in. I'm going to try and come up so that I can get a straight line across so that it looks fairly uniform. So I think I'm going to leave the fender on to give everything, to hold everything where it's got to go, and then I'm going to tie that front section in. Okay, we're making some captured nuts for holding the fenders on. What I did was I took and I cut some strips 2 inches long, 18 gauge, 3/4 of an inch wide, drilled a 3/8 hole in them, and then I used a 5/16 by 18 flange nut. I find they're a lot easier to weld on because you've got the flange sticking out. And then I just put a little bit of a curve in one end, put some weld through primer on, and what I did was I drilled the center hole for the bolt, 2 plug welds, and then I just bolted them in. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plug weld these with 2 plug welds on each one. All the captured nuts are plug welded in. I'll just pull out all of the bolts, get them ground down a bit, and then I can bolt this fender in and do a little bit of adjusting on it. We have everything in here all cleaned up. I've got weld through primer on all the overlap places, and this is the first piece of the inner fender. I'm going to do it in multiple pieces just because it's going to be so difficult. So this one is straight, then it curves this way as well as this way. So I had to do some shrinking up at the top here to pull it in, and I've got all my plug weld holes drilled out here. I'm just about to fit this in here. Okay, so I got this first piece of the inner fender welded in. All the plug welds are done across. I've got the brace on the inside welded down, and I've got it welded to the step up in the floor on the inside here. You can see back in the corner there, needs to be cleaned up a little bit, but we've got lots of strength in the floor there now. As well as this fender, there's no more flopping around. And I'll just lift it up here a bit and I'll show you what I've been working on at the back there. So as I showed in earlier in the video, or the last video, that the back end of this, every time you moved the quarter up here, the back moved. Every time you moved the back, the quarter moved. So what I've learned is to get this to all come together properly, I'm kind of having to do a little bit on the fender and the inner fender and a little bit at the back here. So I now have the back end completely stiffened up. There's no more give in and out on it. And the way I did that is I took the piece of 18 gauge, broke it 90 degrees across one end, and then I put it in the stretcher and I stretched it to the curve of the rear roll pan. I then transferred a mark from the flange that I have on the bottom of the floor here where I turned it down, and I ran a mark all the way around, and then I broke that on the bead roller with the tipping die. And as I was breaking it, I was shrinking it in the shrinker stretcher to, because it was distorting the hell out of the panel. Once I had that broke at 90 degrees, I trimmed it to the proper shape. Then I broke another 90 and put it in the stretcher, and I stretched it to follow the curve of the flange on the floor here. And as you can see, I have it screwed with Tech screws to this piece, as well as the floor, as well as 3 Tech screws on the bottom here, and it's put a ton of strength into the back end of this. So what my plan is here, this will get plug welded across the bottom, and all of these will get plug welded up here, which will put all the strength in. Now what it's doing, it's leaving a big pocket inside here where crap can accumulate. So I will put some drain holes in the bottom of this piece, and I'm going to build a little shelf that'll come back and seal to the back so that anything that falls into the back of the behind the rumble seat can't fall down inside there. So I'm going to keep working now on the flange for the inner fender here. See if I can, you can see the flange that's in the fender itself. So the flange that I have to weld to the quarter has to match up with that, and then I'll build the rest of the quarter to tie into it down to this this weld flange I have here. So that's kind of where I'm at, the plan that's going ahead, and we'll just keep banging away on steel. Back again here, we got another new week started Monday morning. Been playing with this, trying to build this flange. What I've got, a piece of 2.5 inch wide 18 gauge. I broke it at, I just did a little bit of a break in it to get the angle I needed, and then I pounded in a curve on my half-inch T-dolly all the way along that matches the radius of the quarter panel here. And my original plan was to butt weld the edge of what I rolled on it to the quarter, but everything just gets too floppy. So what I'm attempting to do here is I have this piece completely shaped, and I've clamped it on the inside of the quarter itself, and I'm planning on just running my weld along the bottom edge here. This is going to be hidden by the beading or welting that goes between the fender and the quarter, and it'll be easy for the body shop to blend this all in. So I've got everything lined up here. I'm just going to do a couple tacks all the way down, and then I'm going to try fitting the fender and marking the holes for bolting the fender up. Okay guys, we're back again. We got winters here, snowing and blowing outside. Really good time to be in the shop. So I got this quarter all trimmed, nice straight edge. I put my flange that I made, I showed in the last video, overlapped on the inside, which gave me a really nice edge to weld on. I've got it tacked all the way front to back. I then proceeded to weld in all of the captured nuts. So I have this, the fender is bolted to the flange all the way, and then this brace here, I had to make a new one. The old one had been torched off, and the way I built that was I took a piece of 18 and 1.7" wide, and I put a half-inch bead in the center of it, and then I broke the two outside edges 3/8 of an inch. It makes a really nice strong brace. The frame side is slotted, so there's some adjustment, and the outside, instead of being welded to the fender, it's bolted to the fender. So that's got the fender held in there really solid. I could shake the whole car. Next thing I'm working on is the filler piece that goes on the end here. I've been working away on it pretty hard here for the last 2 hours, getting it shaped properly to fit in here. It's got to follow this curve and then this dish over here, as well as tuck in on the outside here to match the fender. So it's being a bit of a bitch, but we'll get it all figured out. And then I have to put this bead in to follow the body line down, and if I don't get that exactly right, I'm gonna screw this whole panel up and have to start all over again. So the next thing I have to do is get this piece, everything primed and final welded in place. I've got to do a little bit of shrinking in a couple spots here where there's a little bit too much material from all of the damage on the back. And then I can carry on fitting this end piece here. So, okay, we'll carry on. Hey guys, another new day here. Geez, I kind of got in the zone this morning and forgot all about videoing. So I got this piece all formed up. I got the body line rolled into it on the bead roller, and I've got it all tacked in here, but I forgot to film any of it. So I'm just carrying on. I got to build the piece that goes down the side here that ties everything together. And then I've got to repair the back end of this fender to tie into to the rear roll pan here. But man, we got lots of strength in here now. Once this gets all done and the inner fenders in there, will be 100%. So anyhow, I'm going to carry on welding, just doing a stack attack and letting it cool in between. Okay, so we're closing in this end here where the fender comes up and meets it to bolt in. What I did was I took a piece of 18 gauge get some light here that's better. And I traced it. I fit it so that it ties into our flange up here all the way along towards the front. Then I traced a line on it with the radius for the outside piece of the roll pan, left it 1/4 of an inch long, and then using the bead roller, I broke that over in a nice curve. So how this will fit now is it'll get put up here, get it in the right spot. There we go. Can't do this with one hand, but so it's going to sit in there like that, and then I can run a bead down the side. What that does is it gives me a nice backing so that I can round this corner off like the rest of it is up there. And then when I bring the fender over, the repair on it, it'll have a spot to bolt to the back here. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm just going to get this welded in. Okay, one side's done. I got this all tied in. I got some planishing to do yet. I still have access from the inside. It's a little bit high right here. I just got to knock that down. There's a little low spot there and a little low spot there. The body line worked out really good, and I'm pretty happy with the shape across the back. Hopefully the owner is. That was a hell of a pile of work. And now I get to do it all over again on this side. But this side's got to match the other side, so it should be interesting. So I think we'll call it good for this video here. It might be getting a little bit long, I'm not sure. But anyhow, guys, I'd like to thank you for tuning in, subscribing, and following along. We'll carry on. Not sure when the next video will be, because I've got to get this other side done, and then I'm not sure where we're going from there. I think the owner might be taking the car home to put it on the new frame and then bring it back. I've still got a little bit of repair to do on the underside, but we'll get into that. So I'm hoping I can get back on the 59 here and get everything stripped off the frame, get the frame cleaned up, and get it painted. And then as soon as this thing goes home permanent, then we can get in and get that project all finished off. So anyhow, thanks again, everybody. Take care.